They met the way modern fairy tales begin, under the glow of stage lights and camera flashes. Derek Cole was the local rapper everyone in Michigan swore would make it big, the kind of man who filled small clubs with raw energy and lyrics that dripped pain and promise. Alana Reyes was the rising actress who could make an audience cry with a single glance. When they appeared together at a charity event, the room seemed to still around them. Within weeks, social media crowned them the it couple. Their first months together played like a music video, late-night drives through Detroit, handheld clips of laughter, endless declarations of love in captions. Alana posted videos of Derek freestyling in their kitchen while she danced behind him in pajamas. He called her his muse, his reason to write again. They built a brand out of affection, their followers multiplying with every public kiss and inside joke. But perfection online rarely mirrors reality. Behind those glowing screens, the honeymoon burned too fast. Derek's temper, once mistaken for passion, began to surface during trivial disagreements. Missed calls, outfit choices, friendly messages from old colleagues. Alana brushed it off, believing fame just made people possessive. She told herself his jealousy meant he cared. Still, she noticed changes. He started rewriting his lyrics late at night, muttering about loyalty and betrayal. She'd wake to the faint glow of his phone screen, his eyes scrolling through her notifications while she pretended to sleep. When she asked if something was wrong, he smiled too easily and said, "Just inspiration, babe." Their friends saw none of this. To the world, they remained flawless, a rapper and an actress fusing two creative worlds. Every photo seemed to scream happiness, matching tattoos, backstage hugs, coordinated outfits. At interviews, they finished each other's sentences, laughing at private jokes. The chemistry was undeniable, but beneath it pulsed quiet tension that neither dared name. It surfaced publicly for the first time during a live stream. Derek was rehearsing a new verse, one thick with resentment, when Alana entered the room. She teased him about the darkness of his lyrics. He laughed at first, then suddenly turned cold. "Maybe I'm writing about someone who keeps secrets," he said, his tone sharp enough to cut. The chat exploded with heart emojis and laughing faces, but viewers caught the moment her smile faltered. Later, she deleted the clip, though fragments survived online. Enough to fuel gossip about trouble in paradise, Alana told herself every couple fought. The stress of fame, the pressure of constant eyes watching, it twisted love into performance. She kept posting, kept smiling, convincing herself that if she looked happy long enough, the feeling would return. Derek, meanwhile, drowned himself in studio sessions, creating songs that sounded like arguments set to beats. One evening, at an award event where Derek performed and Alana presented, the cameras caught them holding hands too tightly. His grip left faint red marks on her wrist. Her expression never broke. To the audience, they were dazzling. To those close enough to see, there was strain behind the sparkle. After the show, they returned to their apartment overlooking the Detroit skyline. Derek stood by the window, staring at the city lights reflecting on the glass. "You ever feel like people love us more than we love each other?" he asked quietly. Alana, still in her gown, didn't answer. She simply leaned her head on his shoulder, pretending not to understand what he meant. That night, she dreamed of applause fading into silence. When she woke, Derek was already gone, off to the studio before dawn, his side of the bed cold. Her phone buzzed with new comments on their latest post. Couple goals. Alana smiled at the screen, forced and fragile, unaware that the story the world envied had already begun to fracture. The morning after their last public appearance, Alana woke alone again. Derek's sneakers were gone, his side of the closet half empty, and the faint hum of an unfinished track echoed from the studio down the hall. She followed the sound, finding him hunched over his laptop, headphones wrapped around his neck, eyes red from another sleepless night. The song looping on repeat was about lies, every verse sharper than the last. When he noticed her in the doorway, he forced a smile. "It's just music, baby. Don't read into it." But Alana did. Every line sounded like an accusation, every beat a heartbeat out of rhythm. Derek's fame had begun to grow quickly. A freestyle he'd recorded months ago suddenly went viral, shared by a well-known producer. Overnight, he had labels reaching out, podcasts requesting interviews, fans quoting his lyrics like scripture. He should have been happy, but success only deepened the shadows beneath his eyes. The more the world wanted from him, the less he seemed to have left for her. Alana tried to celebrate his moment. She threw a small party at their apartment, inviting a few close friends from the acting world. Derek stayed mostly silent, answering questions with clipped smiles, scrolling through his phone even as people congratulated him. Later that night, when the guests left, he accused her of flirting too much with one of her co-stars. She laughed at first, thinking he was joking, but his expression stayed deadly still. "Don't make me look like a fool in my own home," he whispered. That sentence stayed with her long after he stormed out. Weeks passed, and Alana's own career began to rise. The indie film she'd poured her heart into was finally getting noticed. Critics called her performance haunting, magnetic, a breakout role. When the director invited her to an exclusive cast dinner, Derek refused to come. "You go play your part," he said, his voice thick with sarcasm. "I've got a real one to write." At the dinner, Alana met Ethan Ward, her on-screen love interest. He was older, soft-spoken, and genuinely curious about her craft. He listened without judgment when she spoke about the pressures of fame, the way every photo of her life had to look perfect, even when it wasn't. That night, for the first time in months, she felt seen. Back home, Derek's mood grew darker. He started staying at the studio for days, sending her one-line texts that barely sounded like him. When he did come home, he smelled of smoke and sleeplessness, muttering about people plotting behind his back. Alana tried to bridge the gap, cooking his favorite meals, waiting up until dawn. But each gesture was met with suspicion, not warmth. One evening, she found a notebook on his desk filled with lyrics. One page stopped her cold. She smiles on camera, cries behind doors. "My queen turned actor, now I'm her encore." The bitterness in his handwriting chilled her. She closed the notebook and backed away quietly, realizing the songs were no longer about art. They were messages meant for her. Still, she told no one. Not her mother, not her best friend, not even Ethan, who had begun to notice the strain in her voice during rehearsals. She didn't want to be another gossip headline. She wanted to believe Derek could find his way back to the man she'd fallen for. But late one night, scrolling through social media, she saw his newest post, a video of him in the studio, eyes burning under neon light, saying, "Sometimes the ones who clap for you are the first to betray you." The caption read only, "Truth hurts." Alana stared at the screen until her chest tightened. The applause from the world outside grew louder, but inside their home, there was nothing left but silence, and the faint echo of love turning into warning. The silence in their apartment had become its own language. Alana moved carefully now, measuring every word, every glance, as if stepping through a minefield she couldn't see. Derek had stopped sleeping in their bed. He preferred the couch or the studio, surrounded by beats that pulsed like a second heartbeat. Whenever she walked by, he minimized screens, muttered excuses, and avoided her eyes. One morning, Alana reached for her phone and found it missing from the nightstand. She searched the sheets, the kitchen, the living room, until Derek emerged from the bathroom holding it. "You left it in there," he said flatly, setting it down on the counter. She knew she hadn't. When she unlocked it, a chill ran through her spine. The message notification from Ethan was gone. Only the timestamp remained. She wanted to believe it was nothing, but then came the subtle changes. Derek started asking oddly specific questions about her filming schedule, about which scenes she had with Ethan, about how many takes they needed. When she answered, his responses were calm but too rehearsed, the calm that comes before an explosion. At first, she confided in Ethan, keeping her tone light. "He's just a little protective," she said after rehearsal, forcing a smile. Ethan hesitated, unsure how far to push, but finally asked, "Does he ever cross a line?" She shook her head quickly, though her throat tightened. "No, he just gets jealous. It's fine." She wanted to end the topic, but the truth was already burning inside her chest. That night, she returned home to find Derek sitting in the dark. The glow from his phone illuminated his face like a mask. He didn't look up as she entered. "You know," he began softly, "you don't have to lie about rehearsals." Her heart skipped. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the photos." He turned his screen toward her, grainy behind-the-scenes pictures from set, showing her and Ethan laughing between takes. "You look real happy, huh?" "They were candid, Derek. It's work." "Work," he echoed, voice dropping lower. "Right." The next morning, she found the locks changed on her phone. When she tried to reset them, the device demanded a new passcode she didn't remember setting. Her stomach twisted with dread. She felt watched, even in her own home. In the following days, his paranoia escalated into poetry. He began recording voice notes, spoken verses laced with venom, lines about women who play innocent while making fools of kings. Alana overheard him one night, his tone trembling between pain and rage. The words weren't lyrics anymore. They were accusations. She started deleting messages from Ethan as soon as they arrived, terrified Derek would see them. But one afternoon, while she was in the shower, he did. When she stepped out, he was waiting, phone in hand, eyes bloodshot, body shaking. "So this is what you call friendship?" His voice cracked as he read aloud Ethan's latest text. "You don't deserve to be afraid of love. Derek, it's not what you think. Don't lie to me." He snapped, slamming the phone onto the counter. The screen cracked, splitting the message in two. For a moment, she thought he might hit her. Instead, he turned away, trembling. "You made me write about pain before. Now you're making me live it." He left without another word. That night, Alana sat on the kitchen floor, clutching the broken phone, her hands shaking. The man who once wrote her love songs had become a stranger who spoke in threats disguised as verses. And somewhere deep inside, she realized something irreversible had shifted. Derek no longer wanted to understand her. He wanted to catch her. Outside, thunder rolled through Detroit, rattling the windows. Alana looked toward the door, half expecting him to return. He didn't. But on the counter, his notebook lay open, its final line scrawled in heavy ink. "The truth will bleed louder than her silence." Rain hammered against the studio windows that night. The kind of relentless downpour that muffled every sound except the low hum of the bass. Derek sat in front of the microphone, eyes hollow, his hands trembling around a glass of whiskey. The track looping behind him was unfinished, its melody haunting and uneven, like his thoughts. On the other side of the sound booth, Trey Lawson, his best friend and manager since their teenage years, watched quietly, sensing that something inside Derek had finally snapped. "You ever feel like a song's trying to tell you something before you finish it?" Derek muttered, his voice hoarse. Trey frowned. "Man, you haven't slept in 2 days. You need to—" "She's lying to me, Trey." Derek's words sliced through the air, sharp and unsteady. "You know that, right? You've seen the way she looks at him." Trey hesitated, trying to keep his tone even. "You're talking about Alana?" "Bro, you can't believe everything you see online. People twist stuff. Maybe you two just need space." "Space?" Derek laughed, bitter and hollow. "That's all she's been taking from me. Space, privacy, secrets. I gave her my world, and she sold it for a role." He stood abruptly, knocking the whiskey bottle to the floor. Amber liquid spread across the rug, the smell sharp and dizzying. Trey reached out, but Derek stepped back, pacing the narrow booth like a caged animal. "I read the messages," Derek whispered. "You know what he said to her? That she deserves to be loved without fear. Like I'm the villain." His jaw clenched, eyes glinting with something between fury and heartbreak. "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" Trey exhaled slowly. "I think you're hurt, man. And you're letting that hurt turn into something worse." Derek turned toward him, eyes glassy. "She made me this way." For a long moment, the room went silent except for the faint hiss of the audio equipment. Then Derek pressed the record button and began to speak, not rap, not rhyme, just raw words spilling out like confession. "She took my trust and wrapped it in lies," he said into the mic. "Every kiss was rehearsal, every touch was a scene. I built a home on quicksand, and now I'm drowning in it. But she'll remember my name long after the cameras stop rolling." Trey froze, realizing this wasn't a verse. It was evidence of a breaking mind. "Derek," he said quietly, "you can't put this out. You'll regret it." Derek stared at the microphone, breathing hard. "It's not for release," he murmured. "It's for truth." He sank into the chair, burying his face in his hands. The tough, confident artist was gone. What sat there now was a man unraveling under the weight of betrayal. Trey approached slowly, putting a hand on his shoulder. "You need to step away for a bit. Go home, talk to her. Don't let this eat you alive." Derek lifted his head, eyes red but calm now. Eerily calm. "I'm done talking. I'm done guessing. I just want her to admit it. To my face." Trey didn't like the way he said it, the quiet finality beneath the words. "Promise me you won't do anything stupid." Derek gave a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm just going to get closure." Trey nodded slowly, unsure whether to believe him. As Derek packed up his bag and walked out into the storm, Trey watched through the glass, a cold dread settling in his stomach. Hours later, the studio was silent again. But Derek's recorded voice still played on loop through the speakers, his confession echoing into emptiness, each word heavier than the last. The storm that followed Derek home was more than weather. It was a quiet electric fury that hummed in his chest, each heartbeat sinking with the rain against the car roof. He parked outside their apartment and sat there for minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. Trey's voice still echoed in his mind, "Don't do anything stupid." But the word stupid had lost its meaning. He needed truth. Inside, the apartment was dark except for the soft flicker of the television. Alana was asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, the faint blue light tracing her face. For a moment, she looked peaceful, almost like the woman he fell in love with before fame turned her into a stranger. Derek watched her chest rise and fall, his heart twisting with something between love and hatred. Her phone lay on the coffee table. One vibration shattered the silence. Derek's gaze snapped toward it. A notification flashed, then disappeared. He picked it up, thumb hovering above the screen. The passcode he'd memorized weeks ago still worked. A thread of messages appeared, nothing scandalous at first. Quick jokes, work updates, late-night encouragements from Ethan Ward. Then, buried between the polite texts, were words that made his vision blur. "You looked beautiful on set today. Hard not to forget that scene. Wish things were different for you. You deserve someone who makes you feel safe." The air left his lungs. Every insecurity, every suspicion, every sleepless night suddenly felt justified. He scrolled faster, devouring proof until one voice memo stopped him cold. He pressed play, Ethan's voice, low and trembling. "I can't keep pretending, Alana. I know you love him, but he's breaking you. Just tell me when you're ready to leave." The room tilted. Derek stood frozen, the weight of the words crushing him. The sound of Alana's soft breathing felt like mockery. He wanted to shake her awake, to demand answers, but another part of him, the quieter and more dangerous one, told him to wait. He backed away, phone still in hand, and slipped into the studio. The same track he'd recorded hours earlier played faintly through his speakers. He added a single new line into the mic, his voice steady, cold, final. "You lied with lips that prayed for me." Then he saved the file and shut everything down. By morning, Alana woke to find Derek gone. Her phone was exactly where she left it, though she noticed the screen smudged as if touched by trembling hands. She told herself it was nothing, just paranoia from all the tension lately. Later that day on set, she caught Ethan watching her between takes. His concern had turned to guilt. "He knows, doesn't he?" he whispered when no one was listening. Alana froze. "What do you mean?" "I saw his post last night," Ethan said. "He's not just angry. He's planning something. You need to get out of there for a while." Alana's chest tightened. She wanted to believe Ethan was overreacting, but she'd seen the look in Derek's eyes too many times not to recognize danger. "I can't just leave," she whispered. "He'll think that means I'm guilty." That evening, she returned home to find the studio door closed. Inside, Derek's voice played from his computer speakers. She pressed her ear against the wood, listening to his confession, the one he'd recorded for Trey. Every word dripped with venom and heartbreak. He wasn't writing songs anymore. He was building evidence for a reckoning. Alana stepped back, trembling, her mind racing with panic. She needed to find a way to talk to him, to calm him, to explain that Ethan meant nothing, at least that's what she kept telling herself. But deep down, she knew the truth was no longer something words could fix. It had already taken on a life of its own, whispering through the walls, feeding on their silence. The next morning began with the faint vibration of a phone buried under a pillow. Alana stirred, sunlight cutting through the blinds in sharp streaks. Her head ached from the restless night before. She reached for the phone on instinct, blinking against the glare. 9 missed calls, all from Derek. Her stomach dropped. Each call was time-stamped between 1:42 a.m. and 3:09 a.m., one after another, like a warning knocking in the dark. The last one had a voicemail. Her hands trembled as she pressed play. Static first. Then his voice. Calm, too calm. You think I don't see it now, Alana? You think you can hide behind rehearsals and excuses? Don't worry. I'll make sure everyone hears your truth soon. She dropped the phone, her pulse thundering in her ears. That wasn't the voice of a jealous man anymore. It was something colder, something calculated. Her first instinct was to call him back, to end this before it spiraled further. But as the phone rang and went straight to voicemail, she froze. What would she even say? That she never meant for any of it to go this far? That Ethan was a mistake born out of loneliness? The words stuck in her throat. On the other side of the city, Derek sat inside his car, parked near a diner they once used to visit every Sunday after recording sessions. He hadn't slept. His phone was face down on the passenger seat, the missed call notifications from Alana lighting up the screen. He ignored them all. His laptop rested on his lap, a file open, a private video he had edited overnight. It wasn't music. It was a montage. Clips of Alana laughing on set with Ethan, screenshots of texts, voice recordings layered under a haunting beat. A confession disguised as art. Trey's message blinked on his screen. Bro, don't post anything, please, let's talk first. Derek typed a reply, but his fingers hovered before hitting send. His reflection stared back from the laptop screen, unshaven, eyes red, face hollow. She made me this, he whispered to himself. She turned love into a headline. Meanwhile, Alana was at the production office pretending everything was fine. Her manager, Serena, noticed her shaking hands as she held the script. You're pale, Serena said. You okay? Alana forced a weak smile. Just didn't sleep. But inside, she was replaying every moment of their relationship, every argument, every apology that now felt rehearsed. She could feel eyes on her. The crew whispered when she passed. Someone must have already seen something online. She opened her phone again. Her heart sank. Derek had posted something on his story. A black screen with a single caption, 9 missed calls. Too late now. Within minutes, her messages exploded. Friends, journalists, fans, all asking if she was okay, if the rumors were true. Panic clawed at her chest. She left the set without a word, rushing to her car. She needed to find him before the world did. When she arrived home, the apartment was silent. Derek's shoes were by the door, his jacket still hanging on the hook. His laptop was gone. The studio light was on, but the door was locked. Derek? She called, her voice cracking. No answer. She pressed her ear to the door again. Nothing. Only the faint hum of the computer fan inside. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. If you want this to stop, meet me where it started. Alana's breath hitched. The message wasn't signed, but she didn't need it to be. She knew exactly where he meant. The studio where they first recorded together. The same place his confession had begun. She stood there for a moment, shaking, staring at her reflection in the dark window. Then she grabbed her keys and walked out. Outside, thunder rolled again, low and distant, as if the sky itself knew what was coming next. The restaurant was dimly lit, tucked away on a quiet corner of downtown Detroit. Alana sat by the window, her hands clasped together, nails digging into her palms as she waited. She had followed the message's instructions. Meet me where it started. But when she arrived at the old studio, the doors were locked. A second text had followed minutes later. New location. You'll know why soon. Now here she was, sitting across from a stranger. He was in his early 30s, sharply dressed, a calm smile on his face that didn't reach his eyes. "You must be Alana," he said, his tone polite but knowing. "I'm Marcus, Derek's friend." Her heart dropped at his name. She had never met Marcus before, but Derek had mentioned him, a videographer who helped film his music videos years ago. "Where is he?" she asked, trying to sound steady. Marcus stirred his drink. "He's around, but he wanted me to talk to you first." "I don't understand." "About what?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "About choices. About what happens when the people we love make us look like fools." Alana froze. The waiter appeared briefly to pour wine, and for a few seconds the sound of clinking glass filled the heavy silence. Marcus waited until the waiter was gone. Then he slid a small flash drive across the table. "He told me to give you this." Alana hesitated, staring at the tiny device like it was a weapon. "What's on it?" Marcus smiled faintly. "You already know. Proof." Her pulse quickened. "Proof of what?" "Everything," he said simply. "The affair, the texts, the lies, but not just yours." Her confusion deepened. "What are you saying?" Marcus leaned back, studying her reaction. "You really think Derek was the only one being cheated on?" The word struck her like a slap. "You're lying." He chuckled softly, not cruelly, almost pitying. Derek thought he knew the truth. But he was just another player in a story that's been rewritten too many times. You, him, Ethan, all of you lying to each other, chasing something real that never existed. She felt dizzy. "Why are you telling me this?" "What does Derek want?" Marcus's smile faded. "He doesn't want anything anymore. He just wants you to remember him the way he was, before you broke him." Her throat tightened. "Is he okay?" Marcus didn't answer. He reached for his phone and typed something. Moments later, Alana's phone vibrated on the table. One new notification, a video link. When she opened it, her vision blurred. It was Derek, sitting in their old studio, the lights dim, his voice raw. "To anyone watching this," he began, "this isn't a goodbye. It's just me setting the record straight. They say music saves people, but it didn't save me. Maybe because the song I wrote was built on a lie." The video ended abruptly. Alana's hand trembled as she put down her phone. "Where is he, Marcus?" she whispered. "Tell me where he is right now." Marcus sighed, standing up. "You'll find him." He made sure of that. He placed a folded napkin on the table and walked away without another word. Inside the napkin was a scribbled note. "Studio B, midnight." The clock on her phone read 10:43 p.m. Alana stood, her chair scraping against the floor. Her reflection in the restaurant's glass looked ghost-like, eyes wide, expression hollow. She clutched the flash drive in her fist, heart pounding with a mixture of dread and denial. Outside, rain had begun to fall again, coating the streets in silver reflections. The city hummed softly around her, unaware of the storm building inside her chest. She didn't even notice the dark sedan parked across the street. Engine idling, headlights off. Inside, someone was watching her leave, phone camera recording. Red light blinking in the dark. The rain had turned into a relentless downpour by the time Alana reached her car. Her fingers were shaking as she fumbled with the keys, her mind spinning with Marcus's words. Studio B, midnight. Every instinct screamed not to go, but fear and guilt pulled her forward. She needed answers, needed to see Derek before he did something irreversible. But first, she needed to talk to someone she trusted, someone who knew both sides. Her hand hovered over her contacts before tapping Trey. He picked up on the second ring. "Alana?" His voice sounded groggy, cautious. "Trey, it's me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something's wrong. Derek, he's planning something. I think he might hurt himself. Or me." There was a long pause, broken only by the thrum of rain against her windshield. "Where are you right now?" Trey asked. "I just left a restaurant. Some guy named Marcus gave me a flash drive." Said Derek sent it? Trey exhaled sharply. "Marcus?" His tone changed instantly, an edge of panic creeping in. "Alana, you need to listen to me. Marcus isn't just Derek's friend. He used to work with him, helped film his music videos, yeah, but he also helped him track people. He's not who he says he is. Alana gripped the steering wheel tighter. What are you talking about? I've been trying to reach Derek all day, Trey said. He's not answering anyone. He's been acting off for weeks, obsessed with proving something. I think he's setting you up. Her chest constricted. Setting me up for what? Whatever happens tonight, Trey said flatly. He wants witnesses. He wants control of the story before it's even told. Alana's stomach dropped. The video. The threats. The message. You'll know why soon. It all connected. Oh my God, she whispered. Where are you supposed to meet him? Trey asked. Studio B, midnight. Don't go alone. I can't just do nothing, she said, tears pricking her eyes. If I don't go, he'll make sure everyone sees that video. He'll destroy both of us. Trey's voice softened. Then let me come with you. Just wait for me there. Whatever happens, we'll handle it together, okay? She nodded, though he couldn't see her. Okay, please hurry. When the call ended, Alana sat in silence for a moment, staring through the fogged windshield. Her reflection looked foreign, eyes red, lips trembling, a woman caught between love and fear. She started the engine, the wipers screeching across the glass as she drove through the soaked streets. Her thoughts raced with memories, how Derek used to surprise her with dinner after long shoots, how his laughter once filled the apartment. How it all started to change when fame blurred into paranoia. Her phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number. Don't bring anyone, just you. Or the truth won't matter. Her hands went cold. He knew. Meanwhile, across town, Trey was throwing on his jacket, phone pressed to his ear as he tried calling Derek again. It went straight to voicemail. He opened his laptop, pulling up an old shared drive, one they'd used for music projects. A new folder had appeared, titled 9 Days. Inside were dozens of files, videos, screenshots, audio clips. At the center was one labeled Final Cut MP4. He clicked it, and Derek's face filled the screen. They'll call me a monster, Derek said in the recording, his voice calm but broken. But monsters are only born when love dies. Trey slammed his laptop shut, heart pounding. He grabbed his keys and ran for the door. Back in her car, Alana turned into the street leading to the studio. The rain had softened to a drizzle now, the city strangely quiet. Her headlights cut through the mist, illuminating the old building at the end of the block. A single light glowed inside, just enough to reveal the outline of someone standing at the window, watching her arrive. The clock on the dashboard flicked to 12 a.m. as Alana pulled into the cracked lot outside Studio B. The rain had thinned to a cold mist, drifting through the broken neon sign that still read B-Sound Records. The building looked abandoned, yet a faint light flickered from inside, steady, deliberate, waiting. She stepped out of the car, clutching her phone, her breath visible in the night air. The street was silent except for the soft hum of a generator somewhere behind the studio. She glanced around, expecting Trey's headlights at any moment, but the road was empty. Inside, the heavy door creaked open. The familiar smell of dust and stale coffee filled the air. Her heels echoed down the narrow hallway until she reached the main recording room. And there he was. Derek stood at the center wearing a black hoodie, the hood down. His eyes were bloodshot, his face pale beneath the harsh studio lights. Cameras surrounded him, tripods, microphones, even his old live stream rig perched on the desk, its red indicator light glowing. Derek, she breathed, voice trembling. What are you doing? He looked at her, emotionless. You came. I wasn't sure you would. I shouldn't have, she said, taking a cautious step forward. Please, let's just talk. We can fix this. He shook his head slowly. There's nothing left to fix. The whole world's been watching a lie. But tonight, they'll finally see the truth. On the monitors behind him, multiple windows flashed open, live feeds connected to social media platforms. Comments already began to appear. Is this real? What's going on? Bro's streaming again? Alana's blood ran cold. Derek, no. You can't do this. He moved closer, his tone eerily calm. You destroyed me in private. So now I'm ending it in public. She stepped toward him, desperate. Please, you don't want this. Whatever happened, I'm sorry. Sorry? He snapped, his composure fracturing. You made me question everything I was. My music, my name, my worth, every verse I wrote was about you. Tears welled in her eyes. Then don't end it like this. He stared at her for a long moment, breathing hard. Then, without warning, he lifted a handgun from the mixing desk. The room froze. Alana's scream tore through the silence. Derek, stop! Too late, he whispered. They're already watching. The camera's red light blinked brighter, focusing on him as he turned slightly toward the lens. For everyone who ever loved a lie, he said, voice breaking, this is what truth looks like. The door behind them burst open. Trey stumbled in, soaked and breathless. Derek, put it down, man! Derek's eyes flicked to him, filled with a hollow mix of rage and sorrow. You shouldn't be here. I had to be, Trey said, stepping forward. You think this'll give you peace? It won't. It'll just end everything good left about you. For a heartbeat, it seemed to reach him. His hand trembled. The camera kept rolling. Alana edged closer, whispering through tears, Please, baby, don't do this. He looked at her one last time, eyes glassy, haunted. 9 days, he murmured. That's all it took. Then, in a single devastating motion, he turned the gun, not toward her, not toward Trey, but toward himself. The flash filled the room like lightning. Screams echoed. Trey lunged forward. The camera tumbled to the ground, still live. Broadcasting chaos, the muffled sobs, the crash of equipment, the sound of Alana's cries. Outside, the rain finally stopped, leaving only the glow of blue and red sirens that began to stain the wet pavement minutes later. The stream ended with one last image. Derek's final recording, a frozen frame of him looking directly into the lens, as if daring the world to look away. The sound of the gunshot still echoed in Alana's head long after the sirens had faded. It was as if time had fractured in that single moment, one half forever trapped in the scream that left her throat, the other in the unbearable quiet that followed. She sat on the cold studio floor, knees drawn to her chest, eyes fixed on the blood now seeping into the worn carpet. Derek's body lay only a few feet away, covered by a white sheet. The live cameras had been shut off an hour ago, but the red indicator light still glowed faintly, mocking her with its silence. Outside, flashes from police cameras burst through the rain-streaked windows. Reporters were already gathering, shouting questions that blurred into the storm. Did you witness the shooting? Were you involved? Was it really live? Trey sat beside her, head in his hands, his voice hoarse from hours of repeating the same statement to the detectives. He planned it all, he muttered, his words trembling. The stream, the setup, everything. Alana didn't answer. She couldn't. Her phone lay beside her, cracked, blood-smeared, still vibrating with message after message. Her name was trending now. Clips of the live broadcast had already spread like wildfire. Her face frozen mid-scream, Derek's last words quoted endlessly across headlines. She felt detached from it all, as if she were watching someone else's tragedy unfold. When Detective Ramirez approached, his voice was low but firm. Miss Reyes, we'll need a formal statement once you're ready. She nodded blankly. Was it instant? He hesitated, then quietly said, yes. He didn't suffer. Those words didn't comfort her. They crushed her. Because somewhere deep down, she realized Derek wanted her to suffer instead. That was the legacy he left behind. Guilt sharper than any bullet. Hours later, as the paramedics removed his body, Alana stood in the doorway, watching them carry him out under the flashing lights. For a fleeting second, she almost called his name, as if he might still turn around, smile, and tell her it was all just another performance. But the stretcher kept moving. Trey touched her shoulder gently. You shouldn't be here anymore. She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. They'll blame me, he sighed. They already are. The ride back to her apartment was silent. The city outside looked washed out, gray, drenched, indifferent. When they arrived, Trey walked her to the door. "You're not alone in this," he said. But when she stepped inside, the emptiness said otherwise. The couch still held Derek's hoodie. The wall still had their wedding photo, both of them smiling, unaware of the countdown that had already begun. She took the frame off the wall and stared at it, fingers tracing the glass. Then she turned it face down on the table. In the background, her laptop pinged. New emails, dozens of them. Interview requests, media inquiries, even fan messages, some full of pity, others of venom. One subject line stood out. Final draft, Derek's project. She hesitated before opening it. Inside was a single link. A new upload titled 9 Days, The Love That Killed Us. Her chest tightened. She clicked it, and the screen filled with Derek's face, the same recording from the night before. But this time, it wasn't cut off. He looked straight into the camera and said, "If you're watching this, it means I did what I had to. Don't hate her. Just remember me." The video faded to black. Tears streamed down her face as she closed the laptop. She whispered to the empty room, "You wanted to be remembered. Now the whole world will." Outside, dawn began to break, pale, colorless light creeping through the blinds. The silence was almost peaceful, but beneath it was a weight she knew she would carry forever. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number flashing on the screen. She stared at it. Hesitant, then answered. A voice whispered, "It's not over." The phone call ended as abruptly as it began. That haunting voice, low, unfamiliar, and deliberate, still echoed in Alana's mind. It's not over. She spent the next hour pacing her apartment, replaying every sound, every breath, wondering if it was another cruel prank from someone online. But something about the tone told her otherwise. Whoever it was, they knew more than they should. By dawn, her exhaustion finally gave way to dread. She opened the curtains. The city outside had begun to stir, oblivious to the chaos unraveling in her world. Her phone buzzed again, this time a new notification from an unknown account. It was a music upload. Title, The Lyrics He Left Behind. The artist's name read, Derek Reyes. Posthumous release. Her throat went dry. This wasn't possible. She clicked play. The familiar sound of a soft guitar filled the room, Derek's signature rhythm. But the lyrics that followed were unlike anything he'd ever written. His voice, raw and echoing, carried through the speakers. 9 days of love, 1 night of death. Between every vow was a hidden breath. I sang her truth, she sang her sin, the song's not over, it begins again. Alana froze. These weren't just lyrics. They were clues. She replayed the line. The song's not over. It begins again. The way he emphasized the word begins made her skin crawl. He had planned this, every second, every frame, even after death. Her laptop chimed with another message. This one came from Marcus. You were never supposed to see the final verse, but it's out there now. He left it for you and for the world. Attached was a single file titled De Reyes Last Song Text. Alana hesitated, then opened it. Inside were handwritten lyrics, fragmented lines scattered between timestamps and studio notes. The final section was different, more like a confession than a song. I didn't write this for fame. I wrote it so no one could rewrite me. They'll think I died because of betrayal. But it wasn't the cheating, it was the silence. She stopped hearing me long before the music ended. Tell them the truth, Marcus. Make them see what she took. Her hands trembled. Marcus, she whispered. She dialed Trey immediately. He's not done, she said, her voice cracking. There's a new song, a file. He's still talking to me through this. Trey's tone was tense. Don't open anything else, Alana. He's manipulating you even now. You need to stay off social media. But it was too late. The song had already gone viral. Millions were streaming it, dissecting every lyric, every metaphor. Public opinion was split. Some mourning Derek as a tragic artist destroyed by love. Others condemning Alana as the woman who killed him emotionally. Within hours, the hashtags began trending. The lyrics, he left behind, and justice for Derek. Her inbox filled again. Death threats, sympathy notes, offers for interviews. Each message blurred together into one overwhelming noise. But one email stood out. Subject, studio footage. Never before seen. Sender, unknown. She clicked it before she could think. The attachment opened to a dimly lit video, the same studio from that night. But this time, the camera angle was different. It wasn't from Derek's live stream. It was from a second camera hidden near the back. The footage showed Marcus standing behind the recording setup minutes before the stream began. Loading something onto the laptop. Alana's heart stopped. "Oh my God," she whispered. He wasn't alone. Outside her window, the morning sun had begun to rise, but the warmth didn't reach her. The truth was darker than she'd imagined, and far from over. She closed her laptop, took one last trembling breath, and whispered, "Derek, what did you leave behind for me?" The answer waited somewhere inside the files, in the verses of a dead man's song. And as the final chords faded from the speakers, Alana finally understood. His music was never meant to end. It was meant to haunt. The song's final note lingered in the air like smoke, refusing to fade. Even after Alana shut her laptop, the sound of Derek's voice clung to the silence, echoing in her mind like a ghost that wouldn't let go. The world outside was waking up, yet her apartment felt suspended, trapped between life and something that no longer existed. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications exploded across every platform. Clips from Derek's live stream were everywhere, slowed down, remixed, analyzed. Millions were dissecting his final performance, calling it the most haunting broadcast ever made. Alana pressed her palms against her ears. She didn't need to see it again. She had lived it, the moment he stared into the camera, the faint smile, the way his voice cracked on the last verse before the screen went black. But now, everyone was watching it like a tragic movie, sharing theories and conspiracies she couldn't escape. One message stood out among the noise. A link sent from an unknown number. No text, just a title. Raw studio feed, before the stream. Her stomach turned. Curiosity fought with fear, but she clicked anyway. The video began with the same studio. Familiar walls, the same microphone, the same dim light. But Derek wasn't singing. He was pacing, muttering under his breath, staring into the mirror across the room. Then he said something that made her blood run cold. "They think they'll hear my truth when I go live. But the real song isn't for them. It's for her." He looked directly at the camera, eyes dark and hollow. "She took everything, but she won't take my story." Alana's hand trembled. It wasn't the Derek she remembered, the soft-spoken, gentle man she once loved. This version of him was bitter, consumed. Her phone rang, jolting her. It was Trey. "Alana, don't watch anything else," he warned immediately. "That clip? It's been circulating in private groups. Someone's releasing raw footage that was never supposed to leave the label's servers." "I already saw it," she whispered. "He was talking about me, Trey." There was a pause. "Then someone wants you to feel guilty. This isn't Derek anymore. It's someone twisting his memory. Maybe Marcus." At the mention of Marcus, her stomach tightened. He had always been protective of Derek. Maybe too protective. He'd controlled the schedules, the studio access, even the social media logins. And now, somehow, all this footage was leaking. Alana opened another tab. The video had already been viewed over 10 million times. Comments flooded in. He knew she betrayed him. She drove him to it. "This isn't suicide, it's art." Every word felt like a knife. She scrolled further, until one username caught her eye. Raya's Unheard. The account had posted several unseen clips, all under one caption: "The truth Derek couldn't tell live." The latest upload was time-stamped 1 hour before his death. She hesitated, then hit play. Derek sat at the piano, his fingers hovering over the keys. He didn't sing, he just whispered, "If they find this, tell them to look behind the mix." That's where I hit it. Then the screen glitched and cut to black. Behind the mix, Alana's heart pounded. Studio mixes were saved in layers, vocals, instrumentals, backups. If he'd hidden something inside, only someone with access to the original files could find it. And there was only one person who did. Marcus. She looked out the window, the morning light creeping across the skyline. The world thought Derek's story had ended with that live stream. But Alana now knew it hadn't ended. It had only just begun. She picked up her phone and texted Trey, "I'm going to the studio." There was no response. As she grabbed her keys, the reflection in the dark screen of her laptop caught her eye. Derek's paused image from the video, staring back at her, and for a split second she could have sworn his lips moved.